Hello everyone, B.O.B. here, and welcome to another Minecraft for Beginners video. Now, if you have not seen the first Minecraft for Beginners video on my channel, I recommend you go check that out now, just get yourself up to speed. And if you did see that video, you know that it was just a random assortment of tips for the beginning Minecraft player. But from here on out, we're going to stay a little more specific to certain categories, we'll say. I'll probably do one of these videos on food and maybe one on mobs, but today we're going to be talking about my favorite, redstone. Now, in case you didn't know, redstone is basically our electricity here in Minecraft. Redstone in this form is typically referred to as redstone dust, and you can run that like wires from a power source to any redstone component. And as you can see, when it's crafted into blocks, those redstone blocks can be used to put off a permanent redstone signal. These are a few of the items typically used to activate redstone. You have your levers, your buttons, and your pressure plates, which look kind of weird in an item frame. But a lot of these are kind of self-explanatory, but there's things that really aren't explained. Of course, a lever, it's a switch. You turn it on and off, and a button, well, you press the button, it gives off a pulse for a while, and it turns back off. But a wood button, well, that does not necessarily behave the same as a stone button. See, a wood button's pulse is a little bit longer than a stone button. Now, stone and wood pressure plates both behave the same way, but when we get to the gold and iron pressure plates, they behave a little bit differently. Now, a gold or light weighted pressure plate will increase its signal depending on how many entities are on that pressure plate. Now, an iron or heavy weighted pressure plate, well, it behaves a little bit differently. It will increase its output when the first entity drops on it. But in order to increase its output again, you have to drop an additional 10 entities on it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. To be honest, I'm not really sure what you would use those pressure plates for. Now next, you have your not so commonly used tripwire hook, but they are used and they are useful. This is your typical layout here, but they can be longer than that. In fact, they can be 40 blocks long, as I've demonstrated here. Not one block longer though. You have to put a piece of string on every block in between. But 40 blocks. You could have that pretty well in 40 blocks. Also, not so commonly used is the daylight sensor. Now this one's polarity is reversed, and that's one cool feature with it. You can reverse the polarity. So if you did want street lights that only came on at night or something, this would be your option. You could actually just set these right on top of these redstone lamps, and it would work. The next thing we're going to talk about is redstone torches. Now, redstone torches are a constant redstone power source. You can place them anywhere right beside a redstone component to activate it. They can also be placed on opposing sides of a block to reverse polarity of a redstone signal. They can be used to send a redstone signal up. This is called a torch tower. And well, I mean, if you offset them and you put redstone dust on top of each block, you can also use it to send a signal down. And next we're going to talk about pistons and sticky pistons. Now, pistons can be used to push blocks as well as sticky pistons, but sticky pistons can also retract their blocks. Now, the most obvious use for pistons would be piston doors like the famed Jeb doors like I have here, but they can also be used inside of redstone circuits. For example, this is what's known as a monostable circuit. If I push this button, it activates that piston, only giving a 1-tick pulse at the beginning of the redstone signal. So this is a rising edge monostable circuit. Now, with the mechanic that a sticky piston will spit off its block, when fed a 1-tick pulse, we can then turn this monostable circuit into a T-flip-flop circuit. Now, the next couple of things I'm going to want to talk about are repeaters and comparators, and I'm going to start with the repeater, and I'm going to keep it very, very brief with the comparator because, well, there's a lot to cover. Now, both of these blocks have multiple states. The comparator has 2 states, such as normal mode and subtract mode. The repeater, it has 4 states, such as 1 tick delay, 2 tick delay, 3 tick delay, 4 tick delay. Now, adding delays to a circuit is a common use for a repeater, and I have an example of a delay set up here. You see this first redstone lamp, it only has a 1 tick delay feeding into it, while this redstone lamp has a 4 tick delay. And you'll notice this one will turn on first as well as shut off first. Another common use for the repeater is, well, extending a redstone signal. 15 blocks is the max output for most redstone sources, such as this button. And as you can see, that lamp turns on down there, but if it was 1 block away, and I can demonstrate that here, 1 block further away, and that would not work. It doesn't work. 1 block away. So, if you wanted to transfer a redstone signal further than 15 blocks, you have to put in a repeater. At the end of the 15 blocks, you add a repeater, you can go another 15 blocks. Now, repeaters can be used to send a redstone signal through a solid block or pull a redstone signal through a solid block, and sometimes it can be used to make clocks. Now, you can control the speed of clocks like this by adjusting the settings on the repeater. As you can see, you speed it up, but I mean, if you speed it up too fast, you might end up burning out the clock just like that. But that's kind of okay because, well, there's no other way to really shut off those clocks. Now, on to the comparator. As I said, I want to try and keep it brief with the comparator because the comparator can do so many things that, well, even I don't fully understand the comparator just yet. So what I might do, I'm terrible at this sort of thing, but I will try and get it done, is I will post a link to a video from Mumbo Jumbo where he tells you all about the comparator, but this is just a brief idea on some of the things that it can do. For one, it can compare a signal from all of these items in these item frames, including an item frame itself. Yeah, it can detect the octagonal position of the item in the item frame. They can also be used to make clocks. If you took this repeater out, the clock would work, but it would be so fast that, well, most redstone components won't even keep up with it. And this clock can be turned off, so that's kind of a cool thing. Also, pulse extenders, if you just place them side by side facing in opposite directions, you can see it extends the pulse on that particular side way longer than just a straight redstone line. Basically what they do is they send out the same strength of a signal that they take in, so placing them side by side feeding into one another like this, it doubles the length of the signal essentially, and you can actually, you know, make these really long and beefy, not like that, just to increase the pulse even longer if need be. Moving right along to the observer, what the observer does is it detects block updates and it sends out a 1-tick pulse upon receiving said block updates. What I mean by block updates is whenever a block is broken or placed in front of a observer, it will send off a 1-tick pulse. When detecting a redstone signal, it can detect not only when the signal turns on, but when the signal turns off as well. So technically it's a dual edge monostable circuit. It can detect so many things that I'm not going to begin to list them all, but here's a better look at the device. You see this is the face, the side that makes the detections, and you have your little red dot on the back. This is your redstone output. Now, as I said, the observer can detect so many things, so you might just want to look up a list of block updates that can be detected by the observer, but I will warn you, it's not going to be the same from bedrock to Java, I don't believe. At least not from like Java to PS4, because I have found some pretty subtle differences in what it will detect. But some of the more common uses for it is the observer clock. If you have two observers facing one another, they will repeatedly send off a flashing redstone signal. So that could be handy in certain contraptions. And another common use is to either send redstone signals a long distance, maybe be it through water or something along those lines, or you can also use them to, well, build cool chaser lights. The only reason that chaser light system works is because the observer has a 1-tick delay before sending its redstone signal. Now, the last few things we're going to talk about here are the dropper and the dispenser. Now, the dropper will drop entities for the player to pick up, while the dispenser will dispense the item inside. See, both of these have fireworks in it, and, well, you can see how those behave differently. And this works with several different types of items. You can see with arrows, you could just drop an arrow to be picked up, or you could shoot yourself in the face. Well, it kind of bounced off me there, but this also works for things like buckets of lava or buckets of water, where you hit the button once, it turns on, hit the button again, it turns off. But be careful playing with things like that around redstone, because, well, this happens. Yeah. Now you can't even shut that thing off. And my friends, that is about all we have time for today, and I did not even begin to scratch the surface of this subject. So just like in the last video, if you can think of a good tip or trick for a beginning Minecraft player, maybe write something in the comments below so we can let them know about that. I might even at some point make a video featuring just those comments if I can generate enough of them. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure and hit that like button. If you're interested in seeing more from me, consider hitting that subscribe button. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching and wish you all a wonderful day.